Coach Jackson Vaughan. Coach, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Doing good, and I know you guys have a busy week because it's a short week because you're flying down to Georgia and here tomorrow morning actually for the NFCA Leadoff Classic. We'll have more on that in a minute. But obviously, I'm sure everybody's getting excited, getting ready to get some games in. Still a couple weeks before you're playing here in McMinnville. But just what's the energy like around practice, preseason drills? I know it's always kind of a shuffle for you guys between the morning, the afternoon, indoor, outdoor, football field. But tell us about how preseason's been going.
It's going pretty good. I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think kids are ready for some good weather. We got obviously a good taste this weekend. Finally on Saturday, we had phenomenal weather. But we're at the point now where we need to start playing games. We've practiced a lot. We've scrimmaged quite a bit. We've obviously fought the weather, and now you kind of need the game feedback to, I think, make the next jumps and improvements we need to make as a team. So we're just excited to get to play and kind of get a measure of where we're at and kind of see some things that we need to obviously improve on as we continue to move on and get into the league season.
Obviously, the expectations are always very high for the program, pretty much every year. But last year, of course, as much success as you've had in recent history, making it to the championship side for the first time since 2015, sweeping the way through regionals. When you return most of the team like you have, obviously some key pieces are being replaced. We'll get into that in a second. But when you went as far as you guys did last year, what's the messaging like going into the following season?
To be honest, it doesn't change much for us. It really doesn't. We don't really talk about the end of the year hardly at all. It's really just about trying to, in the preseason, get as good as you can and fill obviously the holes that you have, and just even for your returning players, just trying to get them better and knowing that if we are able to do those things, then we'll have every opportunity to compete at the end of the year against some of the better teams in the country. And we know there's just so many variables at play. How your health is at the end of the year, obviously how well you're playing at the end of the year, but also anymore the draw you get can make your road way more difficult or way easier. And part of what you're doing in the season is trying to set yourself up so you do have the chance to maybe get a little better draw. So that's obviously a big goal, is to have as good a regular season as you can, so your draw has the potential maybe to not be as difficult. But we know in the West, just like many of the sports, like the teams are pretty good, particularly when you throw in the Texas schools, who we kind of get thrown in with a lot. So we know that it'll be tough, and we try to measure the program and the team really by truly, like, sometimes what happens at the end, but just kind of how each team kind of develops throughout the year and how much better they get and how close we get kind of reaching our full potential. But having Taya back and having some of the key kids we have, certainly the expectations are high and are justified, I think.
Yeah, so obviously Taya Kelly coming back is a huge get for this team, for her to come back for her extra year. Obviously, we at this point we've pretty much said everything about her that can be said. But what are your expectations for her going into her fifth year?
Her and I talked, and a big part of her decision to come back was kind of, she's been dealing with her wrist the whole latter part of her career, and she threw obviously a lot of innings last year. But we kind of talked, if you're going to come back, let's try to make it great. Let's try to see if you can get even better than you have been, and we'll see if that's attainable or not for sure. But the hope is in some way she doesn't have to throw as many innings as she did last year, or drop off we felt like was significant and tough enough last year between 1 and 2. We rode her pretty hard last year in key games especially. So we'll see, but you never really know how the year's going to pan out. She's ready to do that again if we need her to. She's pitched pretty well in the preseason. She's had some things here and there, just like any kid that in every year for her that, well, we could do this a little better, do that a little better. But she's now one of those kids, like most fifth years. She's played a lot. She's really comfortable in her own skin. I think she's comfortable in kind of what she knows she's good at and what we need to improve in. So I think she's excited too to start playing games and not face our own hitters who kind of know her really well, and face some hitters that maybe don't obviously know, just her style and are used to her so much. And so I think she's excited as anybody to go start seeing some other teams.
Behind Taya, obviously Tyler Warden, your number 2 for much of the year last year, returns. Also some other pitchers throughout that staff, Haley Wadsworth and a couple others. So what are you liking behind Taya? Obviously, that's kind of been the question mark last couple of years, what the pitching staff looks after game 1 there. Where are you with your evaluation of the rest of the staff?
I think we have some good potential. Tyler McNeely is a freshman who's come in and was pretty raw, but has a lot of potential. And so she's a little bit like Taya, small school kid, but throws with some velocity, and really came in and worked hard and improved, and so we're hoping that she certainly has a role this year. We think she has the potential to be a power pitcher, somewhat like Tay has been. Kenzie Burke has really improved. She pitched a little bit for us last year, but Kenzie's been doing some good things. And then both Tyler and Haley have been able to be kind of where they've been, and they're both trying to improve on some things. And they kind of give us a good diversification of like different pitching styles. So Tyler has some things that she does that are different, and so does Haley. And then obviously had more of the power pitching element, and Kenzie's kind of in between. So we just got to see who continues to perform when we get into these games, and who can handle the pressure of games, but also who can continue to adjust and hit spots. I think that's the biggest thing that we've tried to harp on in the preseason. We watch film and stuff, is when we are hitting locations. For the most part, our success rate as pitchers has been quite high, and when we miss against our hitters, it's not been very good. So who in those games can be most consistent, I think, with their location will elevate themselves probably into in that number 2-3 spot as we keep going.
But that's tough, of course, when you're asking them to miss against your hitters, because obviously great lineup there. You do obviously have to replace a few key pieces. You graduated those 3 fifth years. Obviously last year, Katie Phillips, Bailey Paul, and Katrina Johns all had long runs in the starting lineups. Who are you looking toward to kind of replace those spots in 2 key positions, corner, outfield, and shortstop?
I think Katie's obviously hard to replace, 2-time All-American and good player, but Mira Sain as a freshman's kind of been in that role. Mira is very talented, very athletic, and as a lefty does a variety of things offensively from the plate, so we kind of predict her to play left field and most likely lead off for us, and kind of fill Bailey's role a little bit in the leadoff spot as a lefty, and then hopefully fill Katie's spot a little bit in left field. And then I think in right field, that's a little bit more up for grabs. You have several kids that I think are in the running for it that are all doing some pretty good things. Kyla Cross, who's a freshman, is doing some good things. Tiani Waiton, who's a veteran, has continued to improve. Sophia Vandersalmen had a really good last scrimmage for us and has kind of thrown her way into that mix too. So those 3 kids probably in particular kind of stand out, maybe filling Bailey's spot in the outfield. And then shortstop, with where Kat graduated, it's most likely going to be Sydney Hess. Sydney started obviously last year for us at third and is a good player and has played. She actually played senior year at high school shortstop, so wasn't a totally unnatural move for her, but it's definitely taken some learning and adjusting, but she's been doing a good job. And then Natalie Brenda right behind her has been doing some good things as well. So those are kind of how we're filling and moving Sydney over. We'll probably move JC Leavos, who kind of was our DH at the end of last year. We'll probably fill in at that third base role the way it kind of looks right now.
But obviously much of the rest of the lineup continues to be the same, as you had a bunch of young players really step up these last couple of years and a pretty phenomenal first half of their careers. What are you looking for this year out of the Claire C's, the Kaylee Sadoffs, the Bryn Nelsons, the Ashley Suttons?
I think just to continue to try to get better. I mean, some kids you're going to have a hard time living up to maybe some of the stats you put up last year. I mean, I think Claire led the country in RBIs or was close, and that's hard to replicate sometimes. And K2 had so many just kind of clutch hits, and there was times where we felt like things were always kind of breaking her way, and so there's gonna be times where we just don't want the kids to necessarily measure themselves by exactly what they did last year, and just kind of the old baseball coach speak stuff of just just take it day by day and trust in the process. Understand we're gonna have some up days and down days, and just try to get better. So we hopefully are hitting our best and playing our best at the end of the season. That's kind of what you hope, but you start to see things. I was talking to Bryn Nelson, our second baseman, and Bryn's doing some good things offensively, but it's been fun to watch her continue development as second and how she's played the position now so much. She really kind of anticipates and does some things that you just don't see a lot of kids do, and that's kind of what you get in some of those veteran players. Sometimes they do get to play a lot. You kind of saw that with Katie in left field, just got so comfortable in the position and so good at her craft that she started to do things that you just don't see many kids typically do in those spots.
So the NFCA Leadoff Classic coming up this weekend in Columbus, Georgia. Going to be playing 6 teams?
Yep.
6 teams, and all of them, obviously, you got to be a good squad to get into the NFCA Leadoff Classic. A couple of them you've run into in the postseason the last couple of seasons. What are you looking for this first weekend of the season? I
mean, it's a tough schedule, and everybody there has a tough schedule, so you can't really obviously complain we didn't get any tougher schedule than anybody else. But we'll face some good pitching. That'll be a big test for us right off the bat. Then obviously you're going to face some just solid overall well-coached teams, and the weather there doesn't look phenomenal right now, so we'll see how that impacts things. But just going to get a measure, I think that's the most important thing. Whether we go 500 or whether we win all the games or whatever, like it matters, but really it matters to really get that measure of where we're at and try to set the bar for where we kind of need to improve at for the rest of the year.
Wildcats headed down to Columbus, Georgia for the NFCA Leadoff Classic. We'll take on 6 opponents from across the country and looking to stack some early non-conference wins. Wildcats then return to the Northwest, start conference play the following weekend up at Whitworth. Home opener will be March 15th against Stuart before diving into conference play for the rest of the season. Coach, thanks for the time and good luck this year.
Yeah, thank you.